Just like bacon, Michael McDonald's voice makes everything better, especially the music of Steely Dan during their classic period. But here's a shocker. Michael McDonald only sang on a handful of Steely Dan songs. Is that vocal bacon so good that we've imagined way more slices of it than there actually were? And am I the only one who's hungry right now? Hey there, Swan Shadow here. Welcome back to the nest. Michael McDonald. Was there ever another previously unknown backup singer who made such a powerful impact from the very first note? When we think back to the classic era of Steely Dan, those 7 albums they released between 1972 and 1980, our brains recall those spectacular McDonald vocals being all over those records. The reality, though, is that Michael McDonald doesn't appear on a Steely Dan album until 1975's Katy Lied. That was their 4th studio album. And even then, McDonald only sings on 4 of that album's 10 tracks. And here's the crazy part. That's the most appearances McDonald would ever make on a Steely Dan album. In fact, 4 is the total number of tracks that McDonald sings on for the entire remainder of Steely Dan's studio career. That's right. There are only 8 Steely Dan songs that feature Michael McDonald's vocals. Just 8. So why does it seem as though he was everywhere on those albums? My theory is this. McDonald's voice was so unique, so impactful, so unbelievably ear-catching that once we heard it, we craved it. We craved it so much, in fact, that we think we got more of it than we actually did, simply because our minds won't accept the fact that we get it so sparingly. I call it the vocal bacon effect. In the same way that even a little bit of bacon makes any dish dramatically better, Michael McDonald's voice so effectively permeates those albums that we think we've tasted an entire slab of that vocal bacon, when the truth is we've only nibbled a few sprinkled bacon bits. So let's break it down. Let's take a closer look at those 8 Steely Dan songs with Michael McDonald as a background vocalist. And we'll give ourselves a reminder of where all the smoky, meaty McDonald goodness resides. Michael McDonald's first appearance on a Steely Dan recording is the song Black Friday, the opening track of the 1975 album Katy Lied. That's McDonald backing Donald Fagen on the chorus throughout the song. He's not all that prominent in the mix. He's mixed way back in there so that you might even not know he was there. But there's no mistaking those soaring harmonies if you listen carefully. In fact, there's a video on Rick Beato's channel where he isolates the vocal and confirms that it is McDonald. The real star of the track, of course, is the searing guitar soloing by Walter Becker, one of his most prominent appearances on that instrument during the classic period. Usually we hear Walter on bass. But on this rocking tune, the combination of Becker's ripping 6-string, Fagen's smirking lead vocal, some tight and tasty drum work by future superstar Jeff Porcaro, and those flavorful dashes of McDonald's vocal bacon in the background made Black Friday the perfect choice as the album's first single. Fortunately, we don't have to wait long to get our first full-barrel dose of McDonald. The second track on Katy Lied is Bad Sneakers, and it's here that the vocal bacon leaps up from an aromatic hint to a front and center main ingredient. McDonald gets his first opportunity to carry a few lines on this song, rather than simply dialing in the high notes from 3 states away. The effect is undeniable. As a listener, you immediately sit up when you hear that soulful second voice come in to wail, "Gone insane, laughing at the frozen rain, so alone," that when Fagen takes over again with, "Honey, when they gonna send me home?" you're like, wait, go back. What was that I just heard? Luckily, that section repeats once again before the song concludes, and this time we're paying attention and ready to savor it. Steely Dan's producer Gary Katz has said that Bad Sneakers should have been the lead single off Katy Lied. I don't know. I think Black Friday is a stronger and more radio-friendly number overall. But you know, McDonald's vocals are exactly what Katz had in mind when he said that. McDonald returns for the third track, Rose Darling. On this one, he's back to a more traditional supplementary role as a backup singer. Rose Darling is rather prosaic as Steely Dan songs go. When we did our Steely Dan 64 project and ranked all of the songs from the classic period, and if you haven't checked out those videos, you really should. There's a playlist linked in the description. Rose Darling came in near the bottom, but it rates a mention here because McDonald sneaks in with that harmony vocal. And of course, that delicious addition of vocal bacon makes even a straightforward song like this one just that tiny twist better. With the fourth McDonald appearance on Katy Lied, the bearded one gets another opportunity to step forward and shine. The ninth track on the album, Any World That I'm Welcome To, gives us McDonald carrying the melody on each chorus, repeating the title again and again. His vocal on those chorus lines is the most distinctive feature on this song that's merely decent otherwise. Which is saying something, given that this track includes the one and only Steely Dan appearance by the king of session drummers, the legendary Hal Blaine. When Hal Blaine is playing on a song, but what you really remember is the guy who sang the choruses, that guy must be doing something really amazing. And indeed, he is. Interestingly enough, Fagen and Becker intended for McDonald to sing on a fifth track on Katy Lied, the excellent Dr. Wu. However, McDonald wasn't able to hit all of the required notes on that song. By his own admission in later interviews, he was smoking quite a bit at the time, and his nicotine-ravaged vocal cords weren't really up to the task. So Timothy B. Schmidt of Poco, later of the Eagles, stepped in for the backing lines on Dr. Wu. By the way, if you're enjoying this conversation, please take a second to give this video a like. It really boosts our efforts to grow our community here on YouTube. Thanks so much for helping us out. By the time of the next Steely Dan album, the 1976 release, The Royal Scam, McDonald was already a member of the Doobie Brothers, thanks to the invitation of the Dan's founding guitarist, Jeff "Skunk" Baxter. As a result, McDonald only checks in briefly on The Royal Scam. He's just barely there for Kid Charlemagne, salted into the background chorus toward the end of the track. But you know, when you have the main man, Larry Carlton, blazing away with one of the greatest guitar solo performances in the history of rock, you don't really need too much vocal bacon. Carlton is slicing up and cooking the whole darn pig for you with those guitar licks. So I can forgive the underuse of McDonald here. And Michael probably picked up enough cash to make sure there was gas in the car. For Asia, the sixth Steely Dan studio album, and the one widely acclaimed as the pinnacle of their recorded output, McDonald returns for two solid engagements. On Peg, the fourth track on the album and the side 2 opener on the original vinyl, McDonald's soaring multi-tracked vocals take the song into the stratosphere. I've said before that no backing singer in history wrings as much juice out of a single word as McDonald does with Peg. If you weren't fully tuned into the song before then, you definitely are in the moment when McDonald hits that note. He's actually prominent throughout the entire chorus of the song, but that one name is the part we all tried to reach as we cruised down the street in our busted hoopties. Or maybe that was just me. On I Got the News, the funky 6th track on Asia, McDonald steps up to the mic and seizes the lead on the bridge. It's actually the first time on a Steely Dan number that we get McDonald's voice without Fagan also in the mix. Instead, a quartet of female singers, Clyde King, Vanetta Fields, Shirley Matthews, and Rebecca Lewis, swells behind McDonald as he belts out 2 lines. Broadway Duchess, darling, if you only knew, half as much as everybody thinks you do. Then, his mission accomplished, McDonald steps out of the booth, takes his hat off the rack, pops it onto his abundant locks, wraps his scarf around that golden throat, and like Kaiser Soze, he's gone. And lastly, we're treated to one final savory serving of vocal bacon on Gaucho, the 7th and final album of Steely Dan's prime era. On Gaucho's 5th track, Time Out of Mind, McDonald reappears for an encore. Now, by this time, he's already a multi-million selling superstar with the Doobie Brothers, so his guest shot is more of a spotlight than most of his previous appearances. He turns in some fairly standard backing harmonies alongside Patty Austin, Valerie Simpson, and Leslie Miller, but then he gets to vamp, just a bit. Not too much, because this is a Steely Dan record and we can't just go all crazy, before he just slips away. It's the perfect sprinkling of black pepper and maple syrup on the millionaire bacon of Michael McDonald's Steely Dan career. Michael McDonald, the man, the voice, the auditory bacon. Which of these 8 McDonald samplings is your favorite? To which track do those unmistakable pipes draw you in and draw you back time after time? Let me know in the comments. Before you disappear, how about a little thumbs up love for the like button and a click to subscribe if you haven't done that already. We've got some exciting content in the works and you're going to want to be here to catch it. Until we see you back here in the nest, please be well and stay steely. You know how this ends. Is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car.